Drama, drama, drama. Oh my gosh. I'm nervous for tomorrow. That preview for tomorrow, I'm nervous. Cause I was very much Team Amaya this episode. I'm very nervous to see how this is gonna go down. Cause her and Chelley, y'all know I love me some Chelley. And Chelley really don't be doing too much that I think is wrong. So we'll see. But I'm gonna hold out my judgment till tomorrow. But if you're new here, hit subscribe, join the crew, Y'all been killing it as always, getting me like 100. I think the last video last night got 100 too. So keep the subscribers going. We're on the road to 10K. Thumbs up the video, drop a comment down below, share the video, do whatever you got to do. We're gonna be here all Love Island season. Like I said, Beyond the Villa. We just saw the sneak peek. It came out today. They're dropping that season, the first episode, July 13th, which I'm assuming is the finale date for this season. We're going to talk about that at the end of this recap. But yeah, then we got Love Island Games too later on in the year. So subscribe, turn the post notifications on. We're going to be here. And I'm not going to waste too much time. So let's go. All right, so we get back to Nick and Cierra. So they're pretty much talking now after the dumping of Belle-A. And she's comforting him, and she's pretty much stating like she knows that it was hard for him, and he ends up stating that he was giving her false hope. And she ends up asking if he feels like he was doing that, and he was like, not too much, but you were. But Cierra then says, "Is there anything that you said to me that you said to her?" And he ends up stating like, "Yeah, I said that I was interested in you, like I said I was interested in her, or at least I said that I was interested in her, like I said I was interested in you." But he then says that Cierra is going to get the experience, and she's going to get to experience a different him on this show. I said, yeah, sure. Okay. But Cierra then says like she really hopes that this is how it is, and she's happy that it all worked out the way that it did. I'm like, if you don't get that man a pimple patch, get it to him. But they start kissing, and Nick essentially says like tonight was the hardest decision for him to make. But he feels like it's a weight lifted off his shoulders, and now he can be himself, not worrying about anybody else, a.k.a. Belle-A. I'm like, okay. But Charlie and Hannah, their conversations, you're not getting much notes from me. He just literally wants to kiss all on her. Like, that's literally it. They start a little smidge of a conversation. He pulls her in and starts tonguing her down. That's literally all it is with them. But anyways, next. Huda and Jeremiah. She's sitting there talking about how Belle-A was the closest person to her in the villa. And it's scary that that's how men are, talking about how Nick was. And the face that he made when she said that, he was like, but girls do too. And you can tell like their body language, even though what happens later on, the body language is off. Like she's sitting there crying and he just has his hand like right here. Like he's not even pulling her in. He's not comforting her. The way they've been talking, they should have been skin to skin, body to body. He was not even really doing that with her, which tells me a lot. But she ends up asking him how he feels about it. He ends up stating that he feels like he's the luckiest man on the earth, talking about how he feels about her. And I'm not convinced by it, but he says that he's locking in on her and getting to know her and getting her to like him a lot more. And she's like, you don't have to do that. And I'm like, yeah, he's only doing that and saying that because he wants the money. He's trying to get us, the viewers, to buy into that bullshit that we're not buying into. But he starts talking about how he didn't want to cry when he was stating his speech and whatever. And she's like, why would you cry? And he says, like, because I'm emotional. And she's like, so you're going to cry about me? She's so happy about that. But we move to Ace and Amaya. These two are probably going to be my thumbnail because they were the bulk of a lot of the drama going on. I'm going to go back and forth because at the beginning, I'm like, but then at the end, I'm like, But Ace and Amaya, they're talking. He asks her how she feels, and she says she feels good, and she asks him how he feels. He ends up stating that he picked her to give her the chance to explore and get to know her as well, but he wants to be honest and tells her that he still wants to be open and explore other things as well, but he wants to give her that as well. So he then says that he's a slow burner, and when it comes to affection, he's really a slow burner when it comes to that. And I'm like, are you really? Are you really? But then again, when I'm sitting here thinking about it, I'm like, it could be true. Could be true. But the way he is in them challenges makes you think otherwise. But I don't know. We'll see. But she ends up stating like I'm not like that. She's like, I'm not super physical. Like I understand that you have nothing to worry about. And you could see it all over her face that she didn't like that. She immediately got the ick quickly. But she then says that she feels like this conversation could have waited for tomorrow because you could see she's starting to get emotional too. And she says essentially, and she tells him to his face that it's giving player vibes. She don't bite her tongue. And that's one thing I will respect. She is very real. And when I say she's real, she's gonna tell you how she feels. I can do nothing but respect that. That's why when I say I like her. Because I like that she don't sugarcoat nothing. We'll see tomorrow. But as of today, I like her. I really like how she's literally stating how she feels. But he asked her how. And she says, I just went from cloud nine to now questioning shit. Because you picked me. And she was like, I felt the feelings were mutual because essentially you were my number one. And I felt like you picking me makes me your number one. Which, I mean, I get why she feels that way. Because she knows that it was between her and Chelley. And if she was the one chosen, essentially that's what it looks like, right? But she ends up stating essentially it kind of burst her bubble. And he says, like, I respect her. Or he says, I respect you telling me how you feel. And I'm sorry if it did hurt your feelings. And she's crying at this point now. But they get up. And Ace, I was like, Ace, you could have at least tried to hug her. Like, she was sitting there crying. I'm like, you could have at least tried to comfort her. Granted, she might be one of the people that don't want to be touched, but you could have at least tried to comfort her. But he wasn't doing that. But they ended up getting up and walking away. But he says in his confessionals that he's an understanding person and he can understand the feeling of being wanted, but he just don't move and operate like that with the physicality so quickly. And he says he doesn't want to place a cloud over their connection right now, but in a way it raises a flag. And I was like, that's a mature way to think about it in the moment. But we'll get to it. But Amaya, she goes to ask to talk to Huda of all people. I'm like, that's the one person you want to confide in? That blew me. But she's crying now, like crying hard. And Huda's there comforting her, which is just so interesting. But she ends up telling Huda about the conversation. And she says she understands how he felt essentially, but that's not the first thing that she wants to hear after literally just getting picked to be in a couple. And now it makes her look at him like he's a player. And I get where she's coming from. Like, I understand that. Like, it's like, how you gonna pick me and then pretty much tell me don't touch me or don't even try and get physical with me? So it's just like at that point, it's just like it's kind of weird because it's like, why would you pick me if you don't want that? Because it is Love Island, and a part of what love is physical touch. Like, so I mean, I get where she's coming from. I completely understand it. But Ace is over there telling Jeremiah and Taylor now that it's hard because she's super affectionate and he's not cuddling with her. He said, I don't want to cuddle with her because I don't want to cuddle with anybody until I'm completely sure of them, which I also respect as well. And I'm like, this is where I can see Ace's maturity, even though the player vibe started to come later on. But that in itself, I respect because that's the difference between him and Nick. Nick would have done that. He would have cuddled up to her knowing that he probably prefers the other person. So in that moment, I'm like, yeah, I respect it. But Jeremiah, he ends up asking, like, even if she asks to cuddle, what are you going to do? And he's like, no, I will still say no. And he says, essentially, and here comes the player vibe. He says, I will say no because that's what will make her only like me more. Like, her telling me no is going to make me like her more. That's what he thinks. But then again, you could tell that Ace is used to women chasing him. Because most women, they got true self-respect. They're not going to chase no man. And most women that don't chase a man, they're not going to ask to cuddle. They're going to want you. You're going to be the one to ask them to cuddle. So that tells you a little bit about Ace's experiences with women. But Huda, she's telling Amaya that her feelings are valid and to let Ace pretty much let him earn her. Pretty much telling her, like, stop showing him how much you love him or how much you like him. And I said, it's rich coming from you, considering you literally do all of that. You, like, put it all on Jeremiah. It's crazy how she gives good advice that she don't even follow herself. But she ends up stating that the men are not the catch, the women are the prizes, and Amaya is still crying. But we get Austin and Chelley. Austin, a lot of y'all was saying on social media that Austin was the MVP. Are y'all still feeling that way? I will never give that man any of that energy. But he ends up asking Chelley how she's feeling. And she says, like, tonight was emotional and it was a lot. But the highlight of the night was his speech. And she's like, I couldn't stop cheesing. But he ends up saying, I wish she would have saw that damn clip. I hope this is included in movie night if he's still there. I hope he's not, but I hope it is. But he ends up stating that he feels good about everything with them and giving each other space, essentially, to kind of get him out of his shell. But she ends up stating that she likes his personality and she's been thinking, like, he is kind of attractive. And she's saying in her confessionals that he's fine. I said, Chelley. And then he ends up telling her that his speech was off the dome or whatever. But we get Olandria. Olandria's upstairs with the girls. And she's basically stating that them dudes don't know shit about what they want to do. They're making all these decisions last minute, and the shit just be having you looking like, what the fuck? So she then says that she's sad about Belle-Dasha leaving because she was blindsided, because essentially Belle-Dasha had told her that her and Nick were upstairs in Soul Ties kissing. Chelley was like, they was kissing in Soul Ties, because Chelley was in the closet doing something, and then she turns around and they was kissing in Soul Ties. She said, yes, they were over there kissing down. And then she looks over and sees she sees Cierra. She's like, oh, I'm sorry. And Cierra's mouth dropped. She was like, shut the fuck up, because I literally just kissed him 5 minutes after that. And Olandria is apologizing because she's like, I thought you knew. But she then says, Cierra, she then says that she gave him the opportunity earlier to pretty much tell her today if he's done anything. And he was acting like he didn't know why Belle-Dasha even thought that he was going to pick her. And now she feels stupid. But Cierra then says that she was so excited to cuddle him in the bed. And Olandria's like, you still can do it. And Chelley does too. And Shelley's like, you can just go to him tomorrow, bring it up, give him a chance, and try again. I said, that nigga done lied already. Like, take that as a sign that he's already lied. He hasn't told you about what has happened. And if you allow him back in, he's going to do it again. You can't allow people to lie to you. Because once you allow it, it happens again. Because they see, okay, well, you didn't do anything about it then, so I'm going to do it again. So everybody's getting ready for bed. Ace ends up asking Amaya what she wants for breakfast. She says coffee. They all go to bed. Charlie and Hannah are in there kissing. And Jeremiah is in Huda's guts. That's what it looked like to me. Because she in a daze. Like, you could tell she was getting either... You know what I'm saying? I don't even have to just give you the imagery. But yeah, so they're all sleeping. So we get to the next day and we got Ace. He's bringing Amaya breakfast. He doesn't know how to work the coffee machine. He's like, just bear with me. Austin comes up and brings Chelley breakfast, and then they're in there telling Hannah, like, you came in here and you found your man quick. Like, you didn't even have to fight for him. And I'm like, yeah, because Charlie, nobody wanted him. Like, he was literally the sitting duck. Well, really Austin too, though. But Olandria, she's making Taylor breakfast, and I'm like, that's wifely duties. But she's making him breakfast as he's outside talking to Ace about Olandria. And Ace is pretty much asking him, like, how are you feeling about her? And he's like, I feel like there's something there, but he says, I just don't know how to get to that physical attraction. And I'm like, you're not physically attracted to Olandria? Like, how could anybody not be attracted to that? I think women are attracted to Olandria. Olandria, that is a stunning woman. That woman is fine, and she knows she's beautiful here. And then she got body, and that's the thing that blew me too, because she got what he said he wanted. Like, in his like intro package when they dropped the cast, he said he like a woman with a fat ass, and she got one. I'm like, what? And I'm like, look at you and look at her. Like, what? But Olandria, like I said, she's making him breakfast, but Ace ends up saying, like, she downstairs cooking you breakfast, you dumbass. And he's like, you need to step out of your shell, because she's putting you first, and you're gonna be mad whenever she ends up leaving and not staying for you and goes for somebody else as well, and you just can't wait forever. I said, see, that's the maturity. Ace has moments of maturity, but then he has moments of like childish, like, games, but we're gonna get to that in a minute. But that's one of the moments in the episode where he exhibited a lot of maturity. But Olandria is over there making him a good ass meal. That meal look good. But they go ahead and sit off after she gives him the breakfast. So they go over there and sit down and have a conversation. Again, Olandria is leading the conversation, which that is a red flag. She is literally steering all of the conversations that they have. He's very short with her, but she ends up stating, like, I don't know if we've even said good morning to each other. He says that they have. And she ends up stating, like, I don't mean to compare us to others, but like looking at all the other couples that are going around here right now, it's just making me think, what are we really missing? And I'm like Queen E, shout out to Queen E, said, they need to bring her a 6'5" nigga with like dark features that kind of has a similar aesthetic to Cinco from season 3, I want to say season 3 or season 2, and oh boy Coy from last season, like physical aesthetic. That is somebody that I can see her really matching with, and also somebody that would either pose a threat to Taylor to make him either nut up and kind of realize what he has, But then again, I just don't believe that he wants her now. And I can truly see that now just by the way he's acting. But she's talking to him and he's looking at the ground. He's not even looking at her. I'm like, oh, this is a sign. This is a sign. And I'm like, she needs to catch it. But she's like, I'm a slow burner in real time, in the real world, but it's even much quicker in here. And she's like, we can't really move that slow in here, even though I would move slow in real life. And it's true. Like, you can't move slow on Love Island. Like, that defeats the purpose of you even being here. But he states, too, that, and when I say you can't move slow, you can move slow, but you got to at least have some type of, you got to be moving somewhere. You got to start progressing. And I feel like they're just like this. They're riding that. Like, if you think of Serena and Cordell, they were making slow progress. Like, it was still at an incline. Even though they dipped a little bit, it still made an incline. This one right here is flatline. It's flatline. It's clear friendship. But she's still talking and stuff, and she says, like, it doesn't even have to be anything drastic with us changing or whatever, but you can, like, put your hand on my leg or whatever. She's trying to initiate that physicality and pretty much tell him, like, okay, you can do this. And I'm like, that's a sign, too. The woman should never have to tell. Well, I mean, the woman should never have to tell the man that. Like, he should be able to initiate that, aka he can ask for consent, but that pretty much is him initiating the physical contact. He's asking you if he can do that. Taylor has not ever done that. She's basically telling him you have permission to do that, but he hasn't even given you the opportunity to even tell him that because he hasn't done it because he doesn't want to. I'm like, damn, this is crazy. But we get Cierra and Chelley. They're having a conversation, and Sierra's pretty much talking to her and confiding in her about how thrown off she was to find out that Nick and Belle was up there tonguing each other down. And she was like, I should be out here enjoying our first day as a couple, but now I'm sitting here having to think about this. And she says, I just don't know. I don't know what to do. And she's like, I don't like it. And she's like, I just didn't know. She's like, I just didn't want to find out this way. Like, I wanted him to be the one to tell me, if anything. And she then says, like, I just don't want to build something starting on a shaky foundation. I said, you shouldn't, because Huda sure did. But Chelley ends up stating that she feels like it was a lot going on. And she's like, I don't want to make excuses for him, as she makes excuses for him. And she was like, it was a sticky situation. I said, yeah, it was a sticky situation because Nick made it that way. He didn't have to do that. I'm like, he knew what he was doing. He wanted his cake and eating it too. And that's the problem. So yeah, Nick knew what he was doing. Don't give him no sympathy. But Olandria, Taylor and Ace, they're talking at the kitchen. And Ace is bringing up Huda and Jeremiah again. And he's right. Every time he brings them up, I'm going to always enjoy it because, like, what he's saying is true. He clocks it in real time. He says that he thinks that they're not real. Like, what they got going on, he just doesn't think it's genuine. And I don't either. But he's talking to Olandria, really. Taylor's sitting there as well, like, engaging in their back and forth. But he's pretty much asking her, like, do you think it's real? And she's like, I would like to think so. And he's like, something's just off. He's like, I feel like she's more invested in him than he is her. And that is the truth. It is. He's only still with her, like I said from the beginning, because he views, the way I see it, he sees us as the viewers seeing her tell him that she's a single mother. And in his mind, if I leave her after she told me that she's a single mom, I'm going to look like the villain. I'm going to look like the dickhead because I left a single mom who was trying to build a relationship with me. And he sees that in his mind, that we're rooting for that, not knowing that we see she's a nutcase and ain't got shit going on upstairs. He's thinking that we're riding that wave, which is why he's still sticking it out. I completely agree with Ace. I feel like Ace knows that he's full of shit. But they're not watching it, which is hilarious. But Ace ends up saying, like, being closed off right now, you gonna get bored. And he says, like, Amaya could have been Jeremiah's type. And I'm like, so you basically want her off of you now. That's what that is. But Taylor, he says the same thing. And he was like, Huda could have really been cooked at that point if she was, in fact, his type. But Jeremiah ends up getting a text about him and Huda going on a date. I said, take them on a date outside of the house and permanently keep them there. But they head on off to go get ready with the girls and the guys. Huda and Jeremiah eventually end up leaving. And the shady narrator, he ends up stating about their date. We're trying to help Jeremiah prepare for his dad life with a day at a water park. The only thing that was missing was some kids. But back at the villa, Ace is talking to Nick. And Nick says that he's shocked that Ace picked Amaya, as a lot of y'all were online. I, to a degree, was, because I definitely felt like he should have picked Chelley, I would have picked Chelley. But then again, I'm in the minority. I wasn't mad that he didn't pick Chelley. Because like he said, and like we've been saying, it's literally this is episode 5, 6. The show ain't even been on a week yet. Like, completely locking in and closing off, nobody needs to be doing that right now. But I mean, I get why y'all upset though. But I mean, I didn't see an issue with it. But Ace ends up telling him that he had told Amaya that he's excited to talk to her, but made sure to let her know that he's a slow burner. And he had told her that she had told him that he's coming off like a player and he just wants to have his fun. And he then says, like, I still want to explore her, but she just needs to kind of give me some grace because we're just now getting started. Ace also says that he could have chosen anybody, and he's had more conversations and is wondering if he wasted his pick. He says this again later on, so I'm going to save my comment for that later on. But he then tells Nick, that the player vibes that she said kind of threw him off. And Nick was like, that's a jab and it's a bit delusional. I said, only you would say that because you are a player. Like, you are. You just don't like hearing that. Because I wish somebody would have said it to you. But back with Huda and Jeremiah. I wanted to skip over this scene so bad, but I couldn't because I had to talk to y'all about it. It has to be an accurate recap. But they start talking about their day-to-day life and whatever. And he's stating, like, essentially there's weeks where he can go and do whatever he wants to because he's a model. He didn't say that, but that's what we all put two and two together. She talks about her life as a mom and says that her daughter is with her dad on the weekends and they have a pretty good co-parenting situation. But she thanks him for being so open with her. Jeremiah is talking about, like, what if her daughter doesn't even like him and he's never talked to a girl with a kid before. I said, you playing that game. Playing that game. But Jeremiah ends up stating, like, it'd be great to have a guy's perspective on what it looks like outside of the house with a woman with a child. Basically, he's stating to her, without stating to her, I want you to tell somebody so I can go talk to them. Or basically, go tell everybody so I can go talk to everybody about it. That's what I was getting. But she then tells him that she will tell Nick so he'll have somebody to talk to about it. But Jeremiah ends up saying that he just doesn't feel any different about her knowing that she's a mom. I'm like, please. And he's sitting there reassuring her, I'm all about you. I'm like, yeah, for the game. We know. But she tells him that she sees them living together in the future. It's week 1. That is crazy. But he feeds her some bullshit and she's telling him, like, there's no pressure. And I'm like, you just ready for him to move in right now. The minute y'all leave the show, she's going to be ready for him to move in. But they start kissing. Who cares? But Cierra is having a chat with Chelley and Olandria. And they're happy for Huda and Jeremiah. And Chelley ends up stating that they needed it because Huda was constantly talking about, I hope he's not love bombing me. He is. You are as well. But then again, to a degree, I feel like she actually genuinely feels that way. She's obsessed with him. But Olandria ends up stating, like, that's a red flag to her. And we know Olandria does think that's a red flag because she said it before. You remember when she was, I think it was episode 2, whenever she was asking him, like, when she was asking Huda about that challenge whenever the first set of bombshells came in and he was tripping about, did you kiss her? Did you go kiss somebody? And she was like, is that not a red flag to you? And she was like, no, he should be obsessed with me. She was like, that's a red flag. So, of course, she feels this way. But Olandria ends up staying because if he kept saying that he's not interested in getting to know other people, I feel like he's kind of polluting her mind to kind of close off as well, which, yeah. Yeah, and she's like, it's week 1, exactly. Olandria then says, like, they move too fast for the outside world, and even in the villa, like, for villa time, they still moving too fast, and it's the truth. She is not lying. But she essentially says in her confessionals, I'm going to support her. She's like, I'm going to support Huda. Chelley and Olandria said they're going to be side-eyeing Jeremiah, though. They're going to be watching him, but they're going to be side-eyeing him. Austin and Nick. Austin is sitting there telling him and asking him about, like, did you know that me and Amaya was over there kissing after we had a good meditation? We don't care. Ace and Amaya, another conversation. They're matching at this point. She thanks him for giving her breakfast or whatever. She sits down and apologizes for being so emotional the night before. And she's like, I know you didn't have any bad intentions, and I just know you were just being honest. He says, no, you good, like you good. So she then asks him how he feels. And he says, like, it took a moment. It takes a moment for him to kind of, like, open up whenever he's starting to build a relationship. And he asks her, like, what do you call your partner when you're in a relationship? And she's like, I usually make up my own like pet names for him, but sometimes I call him Babe too. And he was like, yeah, I noticed that. And he said, even Babe is a lot for him. And she's like, so you want me to stop calling you it? And he was like, yes. I was like, she can't do shit. I'm like, she really can't do shit. And she was like, I'm gonna walk away because you about to piss me off. Because the way he was sitting there smirking, I was like, oh God. But she then says, you're trying to make it seem like I'm being pushy right now, which she's not lying. He's starting to look like that. It's like she can't win. It's like she can't do nothing. And it's like you essentially couple up with her because you either have a physical connection with her and you're trying to see about an emotional connection, or the vice versa. So it's like, and then not only that, you're on Love Island. So it's just like, and then looking at how Ace be moving in them challenges, it kind of gives you the inclination that he is all about physicality. So, I mean, I get why she's a little bit confused. But she says that, and he ends up stating, like, I just wanted to communicate with you without you getting your feelings in some type of way or whatever. And he was like, just the names and just being touchy and stuff. And she's like, touchy where? I ain't even been touchy with you. I'm like, yeah, she hasn't really done too much besides the game, the challenge. But he was like, you're very quick to respond. You know that, right? I said, oh, he is gaslighting her now. Like, he was gaslighting her now. Yes, she is quick to respond, but you could tell, like, she was confused and kind of offended. And I get why she was. And he was gaslighting her. But she then tells him that she'll respect his boundaries. She's like, is there anything else you want to say? Like, is there anything else you'd like to say? And he's like, I feel like you're being very passive aggressive. I said, you're not. Like, she's just matching your energy at this point because he's sitting there smirking as he's saying it, too. I'm like, you literally are trying to get her riled up. But she says, okay, that's fine. We'll talk, babe. And she didn't do it on purpose. It just naturally came out. It just naturally came out. And then she said, I mean, sir. She is funny to me. I'm telling you, she is funny. But she says it's natural. It just came out. But she says, I don't know what she's saying this in her confessionals. I don't know what the fuck is going on. Like, I'm not liking it. She was like, I know my worth. I don't beg no man for anything. I don't beg no man to see my value. You can explore your other connections. I like how straightforward she is. And I like that. But she says in her confessionals that she just don't know what's going on. Everything she's doing is wrong to him. And she was like, the next time we have a conversation, just handcuff me. Handcuff me, sit me across the table for him so that we can actually speak about some real shit. I died laughing. That was funny to me. But Ace ends up talking to Nick. And Nick ends up asking, like, do you have a problem with Amaya? And Ace ends up telling him about the chat that they had or whatever. And Amaya's upstairs telling Chelley about their conversation as well. So we get back and forth scenes. So she's up there telling Chelley, like, she didn't even know that he had an issue with her calling him babe. And that's just how she naturally talks. That's what she's saying. And Chelley's like, yeah, it's just like you can't do anything. And I'm like, in my mind, I'm like, Chelley gonna get the ick. That's what I was thinking in the moment. Ace is telling Nick how, like, her face switched when he told her about the babe thing and how it was a lot for him. Ace then says, like, I could have chosen anybody that I've had conversations with. Did I waste my pick? I said, that's not her fault, though. That's your fault. You had the opportunity to choose somebody that you had conversations with, a.k.a. Chelley, but you decided that you wanted to choose her. So how is that her fault? Like, he was making it seem like it was her fault that he chose her. And I'm like, you the one that did it. And you had the first dibs because both of your options were standing there. And if you knew that your connection with Chelley was stronger, you should have chosen her then. Because if you didn't want to be with her, you shouldn't have chose her. Because I understand why she feels the way that she does. Because it's like you're sending mixed signals at this point. But he tells him that. And Nick is like, well, you need to go talk to Chelley. And I'm like, Chelley, don't be a backup plan because he playing with you now. But Amaya then tells her that he had said that he was still keeping his options open. And Amaya pretty much says, obviously, we're not married. Like, of course, you're going to keep your options open. I am too. But Chelley ends up stating, like, she would tell Ace that she's keeping her options open as well. We get a scene now of Chelley and Ace talking. I said, okay, how is this going to go? So she ends up telling him that all day she's essentially been waiting on him to come basically pull her for a chat. And she was like, I'm just going to give you your space. I'm like, why would you tell him that? Because that's exactly what he wants to hear. He wants to hear that you was thinking about him. But Austin is upstairs. This nigga right here. He upstairs mad watching him having a conversation. I just fucking wish that he would just get this shit out of the way. You don't want Chelley. Stop playing. Like, we know you don't like her. Like, stop. He is literally doing the most. But Ace is downstairs and he asks Shelley how she felt about him picking Amaya. Literally, this is what he wants from her. But Shelley ends up telling him that she did feel some type of way about it naturally as a human being, but she knows he's exploring his options. Austin is now upstairs crashing out, telling Charlie that I'm so sick of being in a fucking love triangle. I said, first of all, the love triangle has to actually be love. Not only that, it has to be like a genuine mutual liking between three people, or at least one person who's got a mutual liking with both. Even though Shelley's kind of letting you know at least that she's open to possibly being romantically involved with you, you know it's not true, and you know it's not true on your end because you don't like black women. We know that. You don't like black people. We know that. Stop playing. Like, cut the act. Like, we know. Like, he is literally doing the most. But he's up there doing all of that, and Shelley's downstairs telling Ace, like, you're like a mystery to me still in a way. And he's like, so you want me to just show you all my cards right now? She's like, what more cards are there to show? And she ends up pretty much saying, like, I'm not trying to be a perfect girl for Ace. I'm just trying to be Shelley. And if we click, we click. If we don't, we don't. I said, that's what you should be doing. But Austin is still upstairs whining, saying, like, well, if he knew it was her, why didn't he pick her? It's just weird because they're playing the game instead of figuring it out. And they know what they want. They're just playing the game. I said, you just mad because you know that your time is limited, but he is telling the truth. I'm not going to lie, because he is. He knows, everybody knows that these two, like I said, like these two are probably going to be the end game in this show. Who knows if it happens outside in the real world, but you can tell they are the two that are meant to be coupled up in this house right now, in the villa. But Huda and Jeremiah, they come back. Ace did not look too thrilled to see them coming back. Ace and Olandria were the only two that did not get up and rush to go hug both of them. But they go run off to go to the boys and the girls and tell what happened on the date. Huda starts it out talking about, we had sex. Just kidding. Are you really? Because y'all was in that shower. You can't tell me y'all was just in there just bathing. And we saw what you was doing in that bed. We saw. But they're running them through the date or whatever. And Jeremiah ends up saying like their date kind of set the tone for what it's like in the real world. And he claims that he can see them in the real world. Bullshit. But she then tells the girls that they talked about long-term stuff. Shelley's face had me cracking up. She was looking at her like she crazy. But Huda ends up saying that she sees a future between her and Jeremiah. And she wants them to move in together. Shelley says, that's what he was saying? And she was like, yeah, that's what he was saying. He didn't say that shit. He did not say it. And if he did, I must have missed it. But Olandria, in her confessional, she says, I'm not normally the type of friend that feeds into her friends' delusions, but I'm going to just feed into this one right now because I'm not going to be the one that's the sour bunch and the sour grape, pretty much stating that I'm not going to support this. And she's like, I'm going to just give her the support because she clearly needs the support, even though I don't support it. I said exactly. But everybody's getting ready for the night now. And the girls, they end up asking Cierra if she's talked to Nick yet about the kiss. And she's like, no, I haven't yet, but I'm going to do it tonight. So she ends up asking Amaya, like, how her and Ace's conversations have been and how they are. And she's like, we're just going through it right now. Ace is still tweaking downstairs with the boys about the babe shit. But everybody gets downstairs. They're mingling now. And Shelley and Olandria, they look absolutely stunning in this. Like, it's the colors that they're wearing that just highlights that chocolate skin. They look like they was glistening. Two beauty queens. And I love how they talk together. Like, they just literally talk and bounce off each other like they're sisters. Like, they just having genuine conversations. They got a genuine connection. You can tell they trust each other. I love it. But Shelley, she's talking about how she was explaining to Ace with their conversation, explaining to him, like, I know you're still in that exploring stage. And Olandria's like, how much more exploring does he need to do at this point? And Shelley's like, yeah, he thinks that he's Dora. And Olandria's like, no, he Christopher Columbus. They was cracking me up going back and forth. They both they got natural comedic timing. But she ends up stating that and I'm talking about Shelley, she says she feels like she just needs to go hang out with Austin at this point. AKA, she's not putting all her eggs in Ace's basket, even though it's clear she would if he gave her that same energy back. But Olandria is like, I still feel like, she starts talking about herself. She says that she feels like she still like genuinely likes Taylor. And Shelley asks her, like, do you feel like you ever want to cuddle with him? And she's like, that's the one thing that's missing because I enjoy our conversations and stuff. But Shelley essentially tells her, like, the ball is in his hands. It's up to him what y'all do. And Olandria is like, yeah, for sure, because I feel like a woman shouldn't have to initiate that. I said, exactly. It shouldn't be. I have to hydrate, y'all, because my mouth is dry. But Huda, she, after one date, she's already asking Jeremiah if he wants to be closed off. I said, this is crazy. And he says, this is too early. I said, oh, that mask is slipping. And she's like, so you're just waiting on somebody else to come in here now? I said, yeah, duh. And I said, something's not right with her. But he ends up saying, no, not at all. Like, how could you even say that? I highly doubt that there's going to be a girl that comes in here that's going to take my attention away from you. Okay. But Olandria and Taylor, they go upstairs and have a conversation. And again, she is initiating the conversation as well. She's starting, well, I don't want to say initiating it because he did pull her, but she's steering the conversation again. But she tells him she obviously likes him and has made it clear that she likes him, but she just doesn't feel secure or confident in their connection, even though she likes him. And she's like, it just sucks because I really do like you. And he's sitting there looking all emotionless. And I'm like, even though what's about to happen, I'm like, but he says he's sorry for making her feel that way. And it's never his intentions to make her feel less than that. And he's going to do everything in his power to make sure that going forward, she doesn't feel that way. So he then says that he's still Team Olandria. And she's like, I would hope so. I don't believe it. But he asked her for a kiss finally. Ask her for a kiss. I'm like, that's just giving like, I'm just going to do it because you're basically telling me to. And she's like, oh, that's our first kiss outside of the challenge. And they go downstairs and get in the photo booth. They playing with each other, flirting, like sticking each other's tongue in each other's mouth. And then they kiss again. I said, But Cierra and Nick, they're having this conversation. And she ends up asking him how she is. And he's like, I'm happy where we are right now. And she's like, I am too, but I feel like there's a few things that we got to patch up, essentially. And she asked him if he was ever going to tell her about him and Belle-A kissing and soul ties. And he pauses because he was not expecting it. He was not expecting it. You see him trying to work them wheels up there to try and figure out how he's going to get out of it. So he lies and tells her that he was going to tell her, which we know he wasn't, because if you were, you would have. But he says, I was going back and forth. And I said, that's a red flag. Take it as a red flag, Cierra, but she ain't going to do it. But he ends up stating that he wanted to tell her before the girls did. And she was like, but you didn't. I said, exactly. And she was like, it's just uncomfortable for me because it just makes me feel stupid. And I asked you to be transparent and not make me look stupid. And that's what he did. Take that as a sign, Cierra. But he says it was a big decision that had to happen last night. I said, but the kiss happened the night before that. You had a whole day to tell her and you did not tell her that. But he then says now he feels like he's giving her his undivided attention now. Obviously, because Belle-A is not here. You don't have any other options right now. Obviously, you're going to give her your undivided attention because you don't have anybody else to give it to. But she ends up stating that she thinks that there will be more uncomfortable situations and uncomfortable moments. And she says in her confessionals, like, it's hard for her to kind of like be firm with him because of his eyes and whatever. And I said, Cierra, come on. You got to stand on business because he done lied to you already and you're giving into it without him really even putting any groundwork in to kind of prove to you that he's really trying to be back with you for real. And now that you've done that and now that you've made it easier for him to keep moving forward, he's going to do it again. Like, he's going to do it again. And when he does it again, I don't want to see you crying. I don't. But he apologizes and she says like she's not going to hold it over his head. Whatever. But we get to the last scene, which is Ace and Amaya. These two brought the drama. So he ends up stating that he does not feel like their last conversation was good. He tells her that I do like you and I want to get to know you, but I feel like you just was not understanding my boundary. And she was like, I do understand it, but every time we talk, you're just communicating these boundaries. And she was like, I've never given you a reason to believe that you can't explore anything, but this message is real clear. And he ends up stating that he asked her, like, what you call your partner, and you said babe. And she says, yeah, I said babe. And well, no, she ended up saying babe again. And she starts laughing because it's just, you could tell it's natural. She's not doing that shit on purpose. And she says it too. She's like, I don't mean it intentionally. It's just a part of my lingo. And you're just not getting what I'm saying. And he says that he just doesn't understand, so make me understand. And she says, no, I'm not about to do it because I'm about to get emotional. And she's like, you starting to piss me off. And we can see that she was getting pissed off. But Taylor got to the house and Taylor got the whole house watching him at this point. Because where Ace and Amaya are, they're sitting across from essentially the entire villa who's standing over there at that table in the middle of the ground. So they're doing that, and I just lost my spot. Ace ends up stating that I'm not saying that I just don't fuck with you. Like, I'm saying that I fuck with you, but I'm not saying that. And she's like, you're so confusing to me. Like, what are you doing? And he ends up stating, I'm telling you, like, I'd like us to be cool. And she's like, so what does that mean? Like, what are you even talking about? So he says, like, most relationships start off as friends. And she's like, I can't with you. Like, because the way he's doing it, he is low-key playing mind games with her. But Amaya says, I feel like you giving off a big player vibe because you sitting here talking to everybody in the house type shit. And I'm like, he has to do that. I mean, that's the point of them being there. But I get where she's coming from because he is playing with her mind right now. But Ace says in his confessionals that he feels like she's caught up on wanting to be booed up so quickly, and that's not him, and that's not what it is. And he ends up stating, like, we can be friends. Like, you want to be friends, we can be friends. And she was like, so that's the problem. You just want to be friends. This is not Friends Island. I said, you know what? You got a point. And she says, I'm over it. You can go pick who you want to talk to next. And that's where we ended. But like I said at the beginning, Amaya and Chelley are going at it tomorrow. Like, Amaya, well, I really want to say Amaya's going at it with Chelley because Chelley seemingly was not giving her that energy back. You can tell Amaya's frustrated. I hope she's not lashing out on Chelley because of Ace. But then again, it's like you sit and think about how she confided in Chelley at the beginning. Pretty much telling Chelley, like, this man got some red flags. And it's seeming like Chelley is still open to really getting to know Ace, even though she's heard that stuff. But then again, like, it's hearsay. Maybe she wants to see it for herself. But, I mean, she should have seen it for herself the night before. But we'll see. I'm going to reserve my commentary for whose side I'm going to end up being on for that tomorrow. Because I do like both of them. But we'll see. But she's spicy. Amaya is spicy. But Beyond the Villa. Beyond the Villa was dropped. The trailer was dropped today. They showed it at the end of the episode. It looks very staged. It looks very staged. It's too much Kayla. It's too much Kendall. I ain't see too much of Aaron, but I saw too much of Aaron. That is my problem. Like, I want to see Serena. I want to see Janae. I want to see Cordell. And that's about it, truthfully. But Nicole comes in, and I'm happy to see her, and I hope she's putting Kendall's feet to the fire because y'all know if you've been watching me since last season, you know I don't care for him. I was clocking him all season. So that's what I'm interested in seeing. I'm going to watch it, though. I'm going to watch it. I'm going to recap it. But, yeah, it looks kind of staged, and I hope it's not, but we'll see. But, yeah, that's my thoughts. Y'all tell me what y'all's thoughts are on the episode as well as that trailer. Drop it down below. Thumbs up the video if you haven't already. Subscribe if you're new. We're going to see y'all tomorrow. I'm going to see y'all tomorrow because it's about to be a mess. But we'll see then. Peace.